this clip is pretty amazing. You have probably heard by now that the Israeli military carried out now 2 strikes on 2 separate days, from what I understand, on the Jabalia refugee camp. There's multiple refugee camps within Gaza, and they don't seem to have too much of an issue with dropping bombs or sending in a missile into these camps where they know they're going to be killing civilians. And here is CNN Wolf Blitzer interviewing a Lieutenant Colonel Richard Hecht, International IDF spokesperson. What's interesting about this is Wolf Blitzer is a former AIPAC, worked for AIPAC.
Yes.
He, I think formerly worked for the Jerusalem Post at one point. But this guy worked for AIPAC, which is the premier U.S.-based lobby group for Israel and
against progressives.
The most right-wing
Yes.
of lobbyist organizations organizing, or I should say lobbying on behalf of Israel. And Wolf Blitzer used to work for AIPAC, and even he is like, wait, let's just be clear here.
Yes, I can. We were focused again on our target, a senior commander, Wolf, and we'll be updating you with more data as the hour moves ahead.
But even if that Hamas commander was there amidst all those Palestinian refugees who are in that Jabalia refugee camp, Israel still went ahead and dropped a bomb there, attempting to kill this Hamas commander, knowing that a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children, presumably would be killed. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's not what you're hearing, Wolf. We're focused on this commander, again, who you'll get more data who this man was, killed many Israelis. We're doing everything we can. It's a very complicated battle space. There could be infrastructure there. There could be tunnels there. We're still looking into it, and we'll give you more data as the hour moves ahead.
Pause it. The one thing that is amazing about this is he's not even saying there is.
Yeah. Could be.
He's saying there could be. I mean, yeah, there could be. But if you're going to launch an attack where you know you will kill civilians, I mean, and I'm not saying this justifies it, but wouldn't you think that at the very least, like in the most egregious, like that you would know exactly why you're doing that, as opposed to there could be some valuable stuff that we blew up. And as soon as we figure out whether that was the case, we will let you know.
The arrogance of zealots who also had previously found a very safe haven in Western media, and the tide is beginning to turn. He didn't even think that the explanation that he would provide would be in any way controversial. In the past, it might not have been.
Yeah, and I also think, like, to Wolfie says that, and, you know, internally they say, yeah, there was infrastructure there. It was that refugee camp.
Keep going here.
Complicated battle space. There could be infrastructure there. There could be tunnels there. We're still looking into it, and we'll give you more data as the hour moves ahead.
But you know that there are a lot of refugees, a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children in that refugee camp as well, right?
This is the tragedy of war, Wolf. I mean, as you know, we've been saying for days, move south. Civilians that are not involved with Hamas, please move south.
I'm just trying to get a little bit more information. You knew there were civilians there. You knew there were refugees, all sorts of refugees, but you decided to still drop a bomb on that refugee camp, attempting to kill the Hamas commander. By the way, was he killed?
I can't confirm yet. There'll be more updated. Yes, we know that he was killed. About the civilians there, we're doing everything we can to minimize. I'll say it again. Sadly, they are hiding themselves within civilian population. And again, we are doing this stage by stage, and we're going to go after every one of these terrorists who was involved in that heinous attack on the 7th of October, Wolf?
Lieutenant Colonel, I'm having trouble hearing you, but let me move on. I assume you can still hear me.
I mean, I think there was probably some sound stuff in there, so I wouldn't read too much into Wolf Blitzer's last reaction there. But the idea that he keeps reiterating, like, I want to be clear here. You knew that there were civilians there, and it's also interesting they don't even know the name of this leader that they killed. I'm not saying that I'm suspicious as to whether they even know if they killed this guy, because I am suspicious about that. But
of course,
I mean, if the IDF was at the festival, nobody would say anything about, like, the wall justifies innocent people being killed in that attack. Like, this is just sick.
The entirety. I'm also seeing, like, I saw Elizabeth Warren came out yesterday and criticized this the bombing of this refugee camp, and that's good, okay. And I initially had like a snarky tweet in response, but I want to be measured and say I'm happy there's movement here from some of the Democrats. But she repeats in the statement, Hamas has to stop using human shields, and human shields are human beings. Do we understand this? Like, it just because you have a hostage situation in this fantasy, and I don't even think that this is reality, but where there's somebody holding somebody hostage, it's all well documented and well known that you're not supposed to shoot just to get the bad guy, the hostage, and the bad guy, and just spray bullets there. You're supposed to try to save the person who is being used in that, like, bank robbery analogy as a human shield. But what is so, like, cynical about all of this is that Democrats in the past, like after the Iraq War, were consciously kind of, I think, pushing back on some of the Bush era neocon propagandistic language like human shields, which is what Bush would say about Saddam Hussein in Iraq. And Netanyahu's just lifting that from
Putin too.
And so, like, why are Democratic members even continuing this myth? They're just hearing it from some groups that are like PACs like J Street and regurgitating it, but we have to move beyond that.
Well, even if you stipulate that Hamas is using human shields, however they want to define that, the question has to be answered: how many civilian lives are allowed to die and be killed in order to get those Hamas fighters? Right? I mean, if you stipulate, and I don't necessarily, but for the sake of argument, if you stipulate that Hamas is using human shields, then it is incumbent upon the Israelis and anybody who defends the killing of civilians to give us a number or a ratio. Because surely nobody's advocating the way that you get rid of Hamas. They're using human shields. Drop 3 nukes on all of Gaza. Because if you're not going to do that, then there has to be a number between the 2.4 million people who live there and 0 that you are willing to say it is okay to kill if the Hamas fighters are using human shields. Because otherwise, why are we wasting everybody's time? Just drop a couple of nukes, and let's just all call it a day, because they're using they're using these children and these civilians as human shields. And if you're not going to do that, then you are obligated to come up with a number which is justified, because he's saying it's justified. This IDF spokesperson saying it's justified, but give an outside number. Is it we can kill 1,000 civilians per every Hamas fighter? So we get a notion. Is it 100? Is it 500 children, 500 adults? Like, what's the number, so that we don't have to go through all of this sort of like, arguing every time?
Yeah, be straightforward. Be straightforward.
If the principle of Hamas is using them as human shields is a sufficient excuse for killing civilians, then there should be an algorithm which we can all know so that we can get a sense of like when it becomes problematic. Because if there is no algorithm, no number, then I don't know why they're not just nuking it.
And let's be clear. I mean, your point is incredibly well taken and well said. But the point is that it's a violation of international law to even have that ratio be 1-to-1. Collective punishment of civilians for the crimes of terrorism is illegal under international law. So there's no justification for the killing of any civilians in these situations. Given the military technology that Israel possesses and their ability to, if they wanted to, be more precise in their response here. The exact reason that they're not doing so is because they want to wipe out as many people in Gaza as humanly possible. That is the goal of what we're seeing right now.
And scare people away. I mean, Carl Bildt, co-chair of European Council on Foreign Relations, asked, I don't understand if Israel intends to go in and gradually take over all of Gaza, they will be able to get all these Hamas commanders one by one. They have nowhere to go. Why then bomb refugee camps with massive civilian casualties? And I mean, I think the question that has to be asked is, do they want that because they're trying to get Palestinians out of Gaza?
Right. Of course. I mean, and it's not just us saying this. There are now UN officials resigning, calling it genocide. Let's be real here.